love Mexican food so
I
much,
know.
and it sucks we can't go to a restaurant and sit down and eat chips and
Yes.
salsa and waste our money.
Now Taco Bell has become the definition of.
Mexican food.
I was just telling the girlfriend this yesterday. I'm like, I don't like Mexican food anymore because I can't. I realized that 60% of the enjoyment is going to the restaurant, sitting in a booth, looking at all the different colors throughout the restaurant because it's Hispanic, love the culture, and eating chips and salsa for free and drinking water, feeling like I'm getting ahead.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, living like a king, man.
living like a king.
Bring more chips and salsa. Yeah.
Chips. Speaking of chips and salsa, dude, I had a friend of mine back in the day when I was in high school. He worked at a Mexican restaurant called Los Cantoritos. Some of my friends listening will be like, "Yeah, dude, I remember that place. We used to hang out there all the time. We were regulars." Well, my friend worked
But
there.
after eating, you weren't regular.
That's
And
my-
once again, we brought poop into the conversation.
Yeah, whatever. No, so
Strike two.
So he was the chip boy, okay? So he went and all he did was deliver chips, okay?
By car?
He was fired
By si-
because he couldn't deliver chips.
You've got one job.
Chips. He was too slow bringing chips to the table and he was fired, man.
If you had the theme song to Chips queued, this would have been a perfect time.
Oh man, I tell you what.
It's nostalgic.
Yeah.
I'm broke as shit.
Sorry, I love that.
He was after he got fired.
Yeah, well, that was probably
This is a good time to talk about my two of my early firings. I've had a long list of firings throughout my
You've been fired.
career of many
Oh,
places.
I need to hear this. Tell me.
Well, I grew up in Joplin, Missouri.
Yep.
It's like a famous small town. And they're notorious for firing people. So I just like to say that up front.
And Joplin,
Right.
like they just
Right.
fire people.
Yeah.
So all you Joplin people, you can attest to that.
But on the flip side, I probably could have been a little more loyal employee. Truth was, I didn't really like, call it crazy. I didn't like rolling tacos because, and probably that's why I got fired, because you don't roll tacos, you roll burritos. Now it makes sense. Now I understand. I've got an apology letter to write. So yeah. So no, I might have gotten fired from Taco Bell for eating a stray taco or two.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be the
And,
first.
It's one of those things where it's like you swear that God has just got your number on this, and He's not letting you get away with anything, because just imagine the visuals. You've got a crowd of 16-year-old death metal listener Taco Bell employees in the back, downing 6 tacos at a time.
Yeah.
And then this guy takes the little taco they use for a sample just away, that they then throw away,
Yeah.
which makes no sense. And I put it in a big, sack that we used to go do a lot check to pick up trash. And I'm kind of tiptoeing out the door, and it's, hold it right there. What's in that sack? I'm like, how can you even tell
Yeah.
from there? And so,
That guy's a sack checker.
cover your ears. And but that wasn't the problem. Wasn't getting fired. The problem was going home and telling my father that I got fired.
For stealing tacos.
Yeah. What'd you get fired for? You show up late to work? I can understand doing that. I got fired. You son of a. Yeah, but I rebounded, and in less than a week, I got a job next door at McDonald's.
Ooh, their rival.
And then I got fired in a month from McDonald's.
What, were you stealing hamburgers?
Not this time.
You were stealing tacos from McDonald's?
It's an even funnier story.
They don't even make tacos. How'd you? Dad, I got fired.
This one was hard to do, but I
I got fired for stealing tacos at McDonald's.
stole a taco at Taco Bell and ate it at my job at McDonald's. Yeah, no one. I remember back in the day that no one ever got fired for stealing nuggets, because McDonald's nuggets suck.
Because it's not real food. They're like,
No,
they don't.
it's everything but the chicken.
Oh.
So No, this time I distinctly remember it's a little, they do things a little differently now, but there used to be this expo table. They call it in the industry, you'll know what I'm talking about, an expo table. It's where the food goes on and then the waiting staff or the underpaid 16-year-old McDonald's employees that run the counter get the food from. But they had a top shelf and you'd put your food up on the top shelf and you'd yell Big Mac up, quarter pounder up, fillet of fish up. Well, I was doing a fillet of fish and I was actually trying to go like twice as fast and do a really good job. This is the sad part about it. You have any sad music? So I make my fillet of fish.
Don't worry, I gotta put some different
Yeah.
effects in. Go
I
ahead.
put it up on the expo counter and I'm fillet of fish up, but I put it going a little too fast and it splat. Fillet of fish down.
Oh, you said that.
Yeah.
That's a,
I mean, you gotta stay true to your core.
oh, it's hilarious.
And then this happened. All right, you've not all of you, but probably about 80% of us have been there. You go into work one day, and no one's looking you in the eye.
Oh,
Everyone's having conversations, and you get within 5 feet, and all of a sudden the conversations stop, and they kind of don't look at you. And it's like at that point, you get that feeling in your gut, and you know something's. You know
it's not
your time
diarrhea.
is. You know, like Satan, your time is limited. So, yeah.
That
So,
was it.
we got canned right there. And at that point, I realized that if I went home, I might not leave the house for another year. So, I determined that I would find a job before I got home because it was still early enough in the day. Well, come to find out later, my parents, right, are all excited that I went out and got a new job and rebounded. And so they go to McDonald's and ask for me. I guess it's kind of good revenge, really, because, you know, the manager had to come in and say, we fired your son. What for? Well, a fillet of fish fell on the ground.
That's like a forbidden thing in McDonald's. Do not drop a fillet of fish.
So, yeah. So,
Wow.
moral of the story, this is a long story, but
Yeah, it's going on.
moral of the story is kids, man, kids don't do this today. I went to every place imaginable all the way down that was the main street in town. It's called Rangeline in Joplin. I went to like every restaurant in Rangeline, asked for the manager and asked if they were hiring and got a whole bunch of apps. Went to Wendy's, got a promise for a job interview the next day because they were hiring. But I kept going because I wanted to see if I could land something this day. Not this day, back to this day. And I show up at a place called Fortune East. No bats on the menu. And the guy was like, we need dishwasher. Can you wash dishes tonight? Turns out the guy actually lived on my street and I didn't know. But really cool guy named James. And yeah, started that evening. And you know what? It was totally a not politically correct environment. It was a small business. The guy hired stoners from my high school
Wow.
that ended
It's
up
awesome.
being really cool guys. Yeah, and it was laid back, and we got the job done. It was one of the best jobs I ever had, and I was washing dishes.
And then you got fired.
And then
you got fired.
I got fired for eating bat. God, crazy. That's why I don't have coronavirus now.
I was
built an
licking the
immunity.
dishes and they fired me. No, so we've been listening to Justin talk about his life and
Please come back to the show if you left us.
So speaking of losing jobs, most of the time I've walked off of my jobs, like, cause I just didn't want to do it.
Mhm.
So hopefully I don't have any future employers that are like, I'm sitting down at interview and they're like, you're that guy from the podcast that just walked off your job because you didn't want to be there. It's not me. No,
Are
I
you the guy
promise.
from the podcast that got fired for eating a taco? Get the hell out of here.
Get out of here. No. So, where do I begin? So one time I got fired from, I actually walked out. I worked at this place called Bible Factory Outlet. Okay.
You got fired from a
Bible
store.
Factory Outlet. Dude,
Never told a
okay,
story
I
on a
had,
date.
I hate working the cash register. I hate being behind the counter because I just don't like dealing with people and their personalities. Or there's this one lady, dude. She came in, and I had messed up giving her change back, and this was years ago. I was really young. I messed up, and then she freaks out. She's like, "Oh Lord, I can't believe his kids can't even count money these days. This is just ridiculous. I mean, I freaked out, man. I was like, my heart was racing. I was like, this is embarrassing. And so, anyways, I hated that job. And one day, I was really into the heavy metal Christian scene. Like, I was
Striper.
actually in a rock band. Like, I was the screamer singer. I had my lip pierced, nose pierced. I was a rock and roll dude. It had long hair, everything. And I was going to get my hair colored. I had an appointment for that. Oh, you all right?
Yeah, sorry. that's
I did the
mild
same thing.
concussion.
So I was going to get my hair colored, and they wouldn't let me off of work. So I did the responsible thing, and I just walked out of my job.
I mean, you got a hair coloring appointment.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous. So, yeah, that was that job. And gosh, I have so many crazy
Failed
situations.
workplaces.
Yeah, most of them were just me leaving because I couldn't take it anymore. But I don't know. I'm glad. I don't know. I'm glad that I
As he throws his
survived.
headphones off and leaves.
Yeah, I quit.
Well, I guess it'll just be me for the rest of the episode.
I'm done.